The news paralyzed the industry. Giorgio Armani, the man who took Italian elegance to another level, has died at the age of 91. He was the fashion titan who turned simple suits into coveted treasures and wove a global empire without selling an iota of his company. Now he is gone, and he leaves a question ringing in the air. How did a modest boy from the provinces get to the top without ever giving up his personal vision? Armani's farewell came in September 2025, weeks after his last show in Milan, where his guests applauded him as if knowing that he was closing a historic chapter. His final images, dressed in pristine black, and his most remembered phrases about style flooded the media. This is the time to tell his story, the life of the designer who transformed Italian luxury into a whole philosophy of life. Humble origins. Imagine young Giorgio under the bombardment of northern Italy in the post-war period. He was born in Piacenza in 1934, the son of a schoolteacher and a dressmaker. She grew up with her siblings, Sergio and Rosanna, in a modest and hard-working family. Since he was a child, he was studious and meticulous, traits inherited from his seamstress mother, but he found his true passion in fashion. At the age of 17, he abandoned the medical career he had begun at university. Instead of scalpels and bandages, he preferred fabrics and sketches. He began designing shop windows in Milan's department stores, where he found his first real contact with everyday fashion. Those humble beginnings in the shop window ignited her love for simple but impeccable clothes. Each apprentice was a lesson. She learned about fabrics and colors while living soberly. In the 1960s, he took his next leap. The renowned tailor Nino Cerruti recruited him for his fashion house. At Cerruti, he was responsible for the men's clothing line, and there he refined his cutting techniques. He learned to combine luxury with comfort. It was also in those years that he met Sergio Galeotti in a bar in Milan. Galeotti, an accountant by profession, was attracted by Armani's vision and soon became his inseparable partner in life and business. Both worked side by side, sharing the conviction of creating something completely new in the world of fashion. Armani believed that each garment should serve the person, not the other way around. It was an idea that was reflected in each collection. He always repeated, "I design for real people." There is no virtue in creating clothes and accessories that are not practical. At 40, many begin to retire their dreams. Armani was just beginning his journey to the top. Foundation and takeoff of the brand. The big change came in 1975. Giorgio and Sergio were ready to fly on their own. They decided to found their company, sold their old Volkswagen to raise the initial $10,000 and opened their first studio in Milan. This is how the firm Giorgio Armani S.p.A. was officially born. Their initial bet was as bold as it was ingenious. They created clothes that looked minimalist, but were full of character. They presented unisex suits, refined cuts, and a neutral color palette. The great innovation was a tailored jacket without rigid shoulder pads, with a relaxed cut, combined with a simple white cotton t-shirt. Armani described it as the alphabet of fashion, noting that the true strength of style lay in simplicity. In contrast to the ornate formality of the time, his garments were light but solemn, ready to conquer any catwalk or business meeting. The new brand did not take long to reach beyond Italy. In 1976, he signed contracts with some of the most prestigious stores in New York, such as Barney's and Bloomingdale's. In a matter of years, his suits crossed the Atlantic and enchanted Wall Street. Then came Hollywood. In 1980, the film American Gigolo put Armani on the world map. Richard Gere rose to fame wearing a beige suit by Giorgio Armani. Overnight, the press and fashion magazines proclaimed him the new king of elegance. Their suits, so different from anything seen before, were baptized as power dresses for executives and celebrities. At the same time, Armani expanded his creative universe. In 1976, she launched her first women's line. Galeotti's intuition was immediately confirmed. For the first time in Italy, a woman was able to don a perfectly tailored trouser suit with soft shoulder pads and flowing fabrics, achieving an imposing presence in the office. It is said that it changed the image of the modern executive. The press portrayed him as the pioneer of women's power dressing. Magazine covers featured strong businesswomen in Armani suits, marking the peak of the decade. In every campaign and show, he conveyed the same idea. Fashion should empower people, not pigeonhole them into traditional roles. Armani redefines power. Giorgio Armani changed the rules of the game in the 80s. Where extravagance once predominated, he imposed discretion. Their costumes represented authority without pomp, power without ostentation. Flowing lines, soft shoulders, and muted color palette defined his power suit, a stylistic revolution that made the suit the symbol of professional success. For men, their innovative jackets without a rigid structure and their ties in light silk were synonymous with poise. For women, their relaxed fit two-piece suits provided confidence and presence in the office. They call it the uniform of the executive of the 80s, and indeed, the covers of Vogue and Time dedicated reports to its impact. The pop culture of the time began to worship him. In 1982, Armani became the first designer after Christian Dior to make it to the cover of Time magazine. He won prestigious international awards. The Council of Fashion Designers of America, CFDA, named him Best International Designer in 1983 and later awarded him an honorary award for his entire career. In this way, his influence transcended the codes of the wardrobe. He dictated how the world dressed. Those hats with exaggerated shoulders and garish colors were replaced by Armani's timeless palette. According to the magazines, her brand was the armor of power for any Hollywood executive or actress who wanted to be taken seriously. But Armani always defended function over empty form. He criticized merely ostentatious fashion and advocated authenticity. He even entered into controversy by stating that homosexual men do not need to dress with ostentatious stereotypes. He wanted everyone, regardless of orientation, to dress like real people. His point was not to humiliate anyone, but to emphasize that true confidence comes from personal consistency, not from disguise. Global expansion and diversification. In the early 80s, it was clear that Armani had a broader vision. The brand could conquer any terrain. He began a process of diversification that would turn it into a complete lifestyle. In 1981, he launched several sub-brands: Emporio Armani for young people, Armani Jeans, casual denim line, and soon Armani Exchange, mid-priced urban brand, and Armani Junior children's clothing would follow. These spin-offs brought the Armani style to new audiences without diluting the main signature. Later on, Armani Casa, her line of furniture and decoration, emerged, and even Armani Fiori, her daring venture in floral arrangements. The network was expanding unstoppably. Simultaneously, it signed key partnerships to license high-volume products. The iconic fragrance Acqua di Gio, 1996, was one of his greatest successes, while with L'Oreal he launched luxury perfumes and cosmetics that bore his signature. EssilorLuxottica was in charge of manufacturing glasses with the Armani logo, and Fossil Producciones had wristwatches under the brand. In this way, his name appeared in showcases from ties to makeup, and in many cases as a quality guarantee label. Armani wanted to control every step. His garments were only sold in official stores, and his licenses were long-term to ensure consistency. But the diversification did not stop there. Giorgio brought his style to hospitality. He opened more than 20 restaurants and bars with his minimalist stamp in cities such as Milan, Tokyo, Doha, and even Dubai. In 2009, he opened the first Armani hotel in the Burj Khalifa, the tallest skyscraper in the world, with rooms and lounges designed by himself. A year later, another Armani hotel arrived in Milan. He even entered the sports world. He owned the EA7 Armani Milano basketball team and designed the uniforms of the Italian team in Olympic competitions. The figures of this empire are overwhelming. The Armani Group today employs more than 10,000 people, has 12 factories, and some 2,700 stores in 60 countries. In 2024, it had a turnover of around 2,300 million euros in a difficult global environment and invested record sums to modernize its premises. Forbes estimates that Armani's personal wealth is close to $10 billion, placing him among the richest in Italy. This was all due to one man and his team. Each product bore his fingerprint. The secret was simple. He obsessively reinvested his profits to grow instead of giving up shares. An independent empire. The most extraordinary thing about Armani is that, unlike other legendary fashion houses, It always remained 100% under their control. He never allowed a large conglomerate to acquire his firm. Gucci, Versace, and Fendi ended up sold to titans such as LVMH or Kering. He did not want to listen to any offer. He rejected juicy proposals to buy and even be a strategic partner on multiple occasions. His logic was clear. He preferred to expand his empire in his own way and remain the owner of every creative stitch. His personal philosophy was that creative autonomy defined the greatness of his fashion. While others sold, Armani decided to remain master of his vision, he used to repeat. He saw his company as a personal work, not as just any commercial product. To protect that independence in the long term, he established the Giorgio Armani Foundation, charged with keeping his founding principles alive. According to its plans, the foundation will always retain at least 30% of the company, serving as a guarantor of stability and the group's Italian roots. The most important executive positions have been assigned to his trusted collaborators. His right-hand man Pantaleo Leo Dell'Orco, who has been by his side for decades, and close relatives who will receive the creative reins. In September 2025, shortly after his death, an unexpected twist emerged. The contents of his will became known. It includes a plan to gradually sell part of the group over the next few years. According to the leaked documents, the heirs would have the obligation to cede 15% of the capital in the first 12 to 18 months, giving priority to houses such as LVMH or L'Oreal, with the consent of their right-hand man in the family. It is an unusual step compared to his life, in which he claimed blind loyalty to independence. If it is fulfilled, it would represent an apparent betrayal of its own principles. Fashion is now debating whether it is a visionary bet to secure the economic future or a pragmatic measure to preserve the financial prestige of the empire. Be that as it may, only time will reveal whether that independent empire will stand the test of time without its founder at the helm, the human side of Armani. But Giorgio was much more than the creator of a fashion empire. Behind the reserved and elegant figure was a man of almost monastic habits and a big heart. Despite always wearing rigorous black, he practiced sports daily. He ran kilometers through the parks of Milan in the mornings and was an enthusiast of diving in the Mediterranean. It is said that after his last show of 2024 in Paris, he returned to his hotel at midnight and was diving until dawn. His discipline was extreme. He slept few hours and followed a precise Mediterranean diet. That energy allowed him to remain lucid and active until the end of his life. He had no children or an official partner, but he was a father figure. Her first great love was Sergio Galeotti. Galeotti's death from AIDS in 1985 marked him deeply. Then Armani dressed in perpetual black as a sign of mourning and promised never to be sentimental in public. Instead, she poured that affection into her blood family. She raised her niece Roberta, daughter of her deceased brother, as if she were her own daughter. Roberta Armani resigned from being a successful actress to take over the brand's public relations directorship. He became Giorgio's smiling face at social events, making the legendary designer accessible to the celebrity world. For him, she was family and accomplice. Together, they presented collections, opened stores, and maintained family values within the company. Giorgio also showed great social commitment, although always discreetly. In 2002, he was appointed Goodwill Ambassador to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees and participated in humanitarian campaigns. He helped without scandal in the fight against AIDS, in memory of Galeotti, financing research centers and supporting the sick. It created the Armani/Values Initiative, dedicating its own resources to educational, health, and environmental projects around the world. He collaborated with numerous NGOs and invested millions quietly. Perhaps that was his true luxury, to give back to society without seeking publicity. Although his fame was immense, his donations and charitable work rarely made the front page. Those who knew him say that he was generous with those who worked with him. He cared about his team, paid them well, provided them with constant training. Despite his serious bearing, in private he was kind and courteous. He enjoyed intimate conversations. He remembered numbers, anecdotes, and sometimes let out a subtle joke. His perfectionism demanded the best standards. He personally reviewed the details of each garment and even the packaging of each store. This was noticeable in every impeccable sack and every marble boutique where a customer was received. For Armani, elegance was an inner state, something that radiated with confidence, not extravagance. Elegance does not consist in attracting attention, he said, but in remaining in the memory. This is how he will be remembered, as someone whose vision made the everyday eternal and demonstrated that coherence can shine in silence. The future without Giorgio. Now that Giorgio Armani is gone, the big question is how his legacy will evolve. The order of succession seems clear. His right-hand man, Leo Dell'Orco, will take over the creative direction together with Silvana Armani, his niece, and the usual team. They have been neck and neck with the master for decades, learning his philosophy in the same light, so the style will not change all at once. In addition, the foundation will act as a watchdog of his principles. It will supervise that future designs follow the sober and perfect line that he instituted. But the global context imposes new challenges. Luxury fashion must now captivate young consumers on social media, be environmentally responsible, and reinvent digital marketing. The brand's next leaders will have to balance that modern momentum with the made-in-Italy tradition that Armani built. Unlike other brands that defined with a face, here Armani did not leave an image of a media saint or villain. He left an abstract ideal. Still, the question lingers, echoing his last words. Can an empire created by a single mind survive without it? At this critical moment, only time will provide an answer. The first signals were received in September 2025. We learned that a significant part of the group will soon enter the financial market. It is the decisive moment for the firm. However, as analysts debate stocks and buyers, the most valuable thing is clear: Armani's reputation. He gave instructions to maintain the unwavering essence, the uncompromising quality. If those who follow Armani manage to preserve that coherence, then the Armani style can continue to shine. His collaborators repeat the idea: adapt to the times, yes, but never give up on the original vision. The luxury world watches expectantly. Armani taught that perseverance and integrity can keep a company alive even when its original foundations are missing. Closing and final reflection. The life of Giorgio Armani is the story of how vision, perseverance, and coherence can forge an empire from nothing. From provincial child to master of fashion, his example teaches us that limits exist only in the mind of those who do not dream. His career reminds us that greatness is built with humility, perseverance, and passion for the craft. Armani taught that true luxury is not about flaunting, but about knowing who you are and expressing it with elegance and responsibility. In his words, and in each design, he left valuable lessons. Focus on your art, take care of every detail, stay true to your principles, and continue to innovate. These teachings of Giorgio Armani can inspire us beyond fashion, in our daily work, in our relationships, and in our personal projects. Now it's your turn to reflect. What values from its history will illuminate your path? The mark it leaves continues to inspire even today. As long as his name is pronounced, Armani will remain alive, reminding us with each design that true elegance never dies. His legacy is immortal. Armani will always be a legend.